Hello everybody! Hopefully everybody's having a wonderful day. Welcome to another YouTube video with Crafting with Christina for our two scrapbook friends. So today I'm coming in with a whole pile of fun. We got a bunch of colors happening. We are going to be making this card. So it's a Miss You card with a bunch of beautiful flowers. And can you see, we're adding something a little different today. Can you see how we have a little bit of shine on the flowers here? So that's actually done with a clear embossing powder. So I'm going to show you guys how to put together this card. So what you're going to need, again, it's the standard A2 card, which is 4.25 by 5.5. That's the finished size. We are going to be using, it's by Concord and 9th. It's called Painted Peony Stamp Set. So it's actually a layered stamp set. So you're actually using, that's why I have so many colors here, where it's because it's a whole layering stamp set here. And it also comes with the dies. So that's what we're going to be using. The inks, you can use any ones you want. You're just going to need 3 different colors of each type of color. So in my pinks, I'm using Bubblegum, Blush Pink, and Coral Reef. Those are all from the Stamp Market. My 3 colors of the blue flower, hopefully I'm in frame here, is Tropic Teal, Emerald Isle, and Sea Glass. Then you only need 2 for the leaves, which I'm using Mossy and Leafy. And then for the center of the flower, I'm using Citron and Peach. So those things you're going to need. You're going to need just basic, any clear embossing powder. You're going to need an anti-static tool, and I'll explain that, what you need that in a minute. You're going to need Versamark or any type of embossing stamp pad that you need. You're going to be using a foam square just to, if you want to 3D up the Miss You sign. You're going to need score tape if you want to put score tape down, but you're definitely going to need some sort of liquid glue. I really like the Lawn Fawn glue tube. I use that all the time. You're going to need 80-pound Nina Solar White cardstock, and that's what we're going to be doing all our stamping on. And then, as usual, we always use the 110-pound Nina White cardstock for the card base. And you are definitely going to want your Misty tool or some sort of anything that's like a Misty tool, because it's going to be so much easier to use this. Okay, so let's get started. Again, I will hold this up and I will put this back up at the end if you need to pause it and take a quick peek of what you need. So for now, I'm just going to move all my stamps off to the side. I'm going to move my Versamark because that's the last thing we're going to use, and glue. So first things first is you're going to grab your Misty. I'm actually going to move all these out of the way here and grab them as I need them. So first things first is you're going to want to grab your Misty tool. And as I said, everything I'm going to be doing is all on the 80-pound of the Nina Solar White cardstock. So now I'm just going to grab and show you what I'm first using. So you want to start with your base layer when you're doing layering stencils, okay? So I'm going to grab this base layer here first. And you always want to start, I'm going to put the little card off to the side here as well. You always want to start with your your lightest color. So your biggest stamp, your base. Let's just move this here. And this is why I love my Misty, because my paper moved a little bit because my stamp is so sticky. So just push it back so that it's back down in the corner here. So I'm going to do the big one. And the first one I'm going to use is Blush Pink. Hopefully I'm in focus here. Okay, so you're just going to go over top. Now I find when I find it with Lawn Fawn Stamp Market, it's a beautiful ink when they ink, but it does take a couple minutes for it to basically soak into the page. So sometimes it looks like it's a little bit grainy. I would do 3 just to be on the safe side, but once it dries, the ink actually just kind of goes right into the paper. So if you look at it closely, I'm going to pull this out here. So we've done our 3 on here. I'm going to use my chamois and wipe this off. So do you see, compared to the two of them, how clear, like this one is just complete beautiful lines. This one still has a little bit of grainy look to it, but once you let this dry, it will definitely, it will soak into the paper and it just gives it a beautiful finish. So now I'm done with layer 1. So I'm going to put that away. And now you're going to grab layer 2. So you can see this is layer 2, this is layer 3. So it has just a few more, I'm actually going to pull this right off. It has just a few more little things on here. So what you're going to want to do is, it's quite simple because it has all these little lines here that match up with what you've already done on here. So you just need to match them up. And because they're see-through, you can actually see exactly where everything needs to be lined up. So again, my paper moved a tiny little bit because I don't have my magnets down well enough. So next color I'm going to be using is bubblegum. So whatever, if you're not using these colors, you just have to make sure you're going to be now using your medium pink. Okay, then you're going to stamp that on top. This is what I'm saying. The Misty is so great because now you don't have to worry about it. So let's grab one more on top of here. Okay, I'm going to do 3. I always like to do 3 just to make sure that it's nice and solid and bright. So now you're going to take whatever cleaning, stamp cleaning you're going to take, and you're going to clean this off. And now you're going to go into your third one. So this is the third one here, if you're looking at it this way. Has just a few more, just this is where you're adding that lovely little pop. So now you can see where it fits over top of the other one. Let's just move it around so I know that it's in. It's a lot harder to do when you don't actually have, you can't put your head right down over top of it. Okay, so for the third one, I'm going to be using Coral Reef. So if you're not using the Stamp Market ones and you're using your own colors, make sure now that you're grabbing your darkest colors. So now you're going to stamp on top. And you see now, I'll hold this up when I'm done this. You see how beautiful all these colors now mix together, and it just gives it that 3D look when you're doing it. So I'm going to hold this up here. I'm going to clean off my stamp here, but you do not want to move this stamp. I'm going to hold this up, but now you want to, even if you have a little cloth or something just to dry it. Because I'm using the Misty, I can hold this up and show you guys a little bit closer. But you see how beautiful this is? So it gives it that whole 3D effect. But what we're going to do now, just to give it that little bit of shine like we do on the card here. Now your ink is probably still a little bit wet. As I said, it takes a little bit of time to dry. So you need to use your anti-static tool. So what you're going to do is just kind of take your anti-static tool, go over top to make sure that there's nothing down, because embossing powder will stick to anything that's wet. So you definitely don't want to do that. Give it a little blow. And now you're going to grab your Versamark and you're just going to stamp, because now you know it's in the exact same position as where it was. You're going to grab your Versamark here. Okay, now you're going to put this down over top, because now you're in the exact same spot. But because we're going to do clear, that's why you still like to have that third layer on here. So now what you want to do is grab your clear embossing powder. And I guess I should have wrote that on the notes that you're going to need a heat gun, because you definitely need a heat gun for this. So now you're going to pour your clear embossing powder on top. So now it kind of gives it that almost like a fuzzy look. So what you want to do is grab your heat gun. And now you're going to hold it over top of there. And now that clear embossing powder is going to basically melt right onto where you use the Versamark. So if you can see it, it's starting to melt right onto, which is going to give it that shiny look. So you know when it's done when there's no more, basically a fuzzy look. So now you've got that beautiful clear color. So that's how we're doing that. So now you're going to clean off your stamp, because now you're done with this one. And now you're going to grab your middle one. So the middle part of the flower, and yes, your paper will warp a tiny little bit. Once you start using the die cuts and stuff like that through it, you'll be just fine. So I like to just hold this down good. So now you're going to take, there's two little pieces on here. So there's the thicker one and then the little piece that goes over top. So this is the inside of your big flower. So now you're just going to put this down. And as I said, because it's clear, you can see exactly where it needs to go. So now you're going to put that down there, stamp it. I'm using the citrine color, citrine, whatever it is, that yellow. So you're going to stamp that. Once is probably enough, but as I said, I like to just make sure the colors are very, very vibrant. So now we've got that down. You're going to clear that off. Put that away onto your page here. And now you're going to get the second layer. And now, because you can see, it's a little more difficult for me since I can't really see over top of it. So hopefully I got it in the right spot. I'm trying not to stick my head in here. So now you've got your second layer. And I'm actually using a peach for this, just to give it that little bit of depth. So you're going to put that peach on top, and that's perfect. You don't need to do this one twice unless you want to. But again, clean that off. I should have a cloth, a nice microfiber cloth to make sure it's clean. But now you're doing, because I like to have this one again, so you're going to add a little bit of Versamark here. Make sure that you use your anti-static tool on top of it again. Give it a little blow for the excess stuff to go off. Push this down here, and now we're doing exactly what we did before. So now you're going to grab this back out. You're going to grab your clear embossing. And now you're going to give that centerpiece that little bit of shine. Hopefully you guys can see that online, how shiny this gets. Okay, so now we're done with the big flower. We're going to do a little flower. Now I am only going to do one because I've already, actually let's clean this guy off. I have already done two of them because otherwise it's going to take too long. So for the littler flower, you have 1, 2, 3. So you're going to grab your first, okay? Same as we did before. So this one, and again, paper move, so push this back into the corner because these are very, very, very sticky. So you're going to use your lightest color. I'm going to use the sea glass. I really like the pinks and the blues and stuff together. I think they're quite pretty. Okay. And again, I sometimes just like to do this 3 times just to be safe, that the color is all in. Then take your chamois, clean it off. Now you're going to get your second one. And you don't need to worry about like waiting for the stamp colors to dry or anything like that in between. You can just keep layering on top of them and they're absolutely fine. They will all just dry nicely and get that complete color together when it's drying all together. So the second one, you're going to use your medium. So I'm using the Tropic Teal. Okay, so this is the second layer. And it doesn't look quite different now because the bottom color is still wet. Once they dry, they get a lot lighter. So I'm going to do it 3 times on here. And now you can see, let's just clean that off here. You can see that you're getting that nice little 3D effect on there as well too. So you've got the darker. Now you're going to go with the third one. And you're going to line it up. So as I said, they're very easy to see because you now, because they're see-through the clear stamps. So now you're going to grab your third color. So this is where your darkest one comes in, whatever color. This one I'm using the Emerald Isle. So I'm going to stamp this down here. Isn't that gorgeous? this layering set is so beautiful. Okay, and I'm probably only going to do 2. I think that's fine in there. Clean that off. Make sure it's dry. Because now you're going to go in with your Versamark. Now, because you know this is not, I mean, they're very quick drying. But as I said, they kind of soak into the paper a little bit. But you got to make sure before you do your clear embossing that you use your anti-static tool. That way, if there's any wet up here or anything like that, anywhere that you're not going to put your Versamark down, then you don't have to worry about it sticking. It's not as big of a deal when you're using clear, because if you get it somewhere else, it's not that big of a deal. But when you start getting into colors, you definitely want to have that anti-static tool down. Okay, so now we've got that clear down. So now, do what we did before. And now if you can see that, it's definitely has, you can see the powder on top. And now you're just going to take the heat gun to it. Don't hold your heat gun like super close like that, or you will burn your paper. So you kind of hold it a little bit away, so you can see what I'm doing here. And now you can see it melting onto the paper, and now it is attached to your paper. I just thought this gives it a nice little, just a little bit of a different look here to have a little bit of shine. So we're going to cut those out in a second, but we're just going to quickly do up some leaves. Now, I didn't add any embossing because most of the leaves, if you look at the card here, most of the leaves are stuck behind. I just wanted that shine onto your flowers. So everything that we just did for this flower, you want to repeat that again, because you want to, if you're looking at this, you're wanting 2 of those. You only need 1 big one, but you do need 2 of the smaller ones. So you want to repeat exactly what you just did here again. I've already have my second one already ready to go. So for the leaves, you're going to need 2 colors. So you're going to grab your large leaf here. Oops. And mine is nicely bright pink, even though I've only ever used green. But the green, I guess when it cleans off, turns into a very vibrant pink. Not quite sure why that works, but that does. So you're using these 2. If you can hold it down a little bit lower, you can use those 2. So now you're just going to stamp these guys up. Okay, so let's just move this, push this back over into the corner so I know we're in the same spot. And I am using the lightest one that I chose to use today. So again, you're using your lightest green. I'm using the leafy. Okay. Close your MISTI up. And this is why I really like using the MISTI, or if you have any sort of tool that has this, because now you don't need to worry about your paper moving when you have to do more than 1 layer. I'd probably be fine with 2, but I'm going to do 1 more just to be safe. Okay, so now we've got those. Now I'm going to use my chamois and clean these back up. And then I'm going to pull those off. And actually, I should have done this because I'm actually going to be doing the green ones. Like these ones, I decided to do everything all in the same green. So I probably should have. Let's just quickly get the leafy one and do this one. So again, it's your lightest of the greens, because then we can just do all the dark ones all together. Okay. So you want your lightest of the greens here. I'm really sorry if I'm shaking this. This is hard to do this without shaking the stand. Okay, so now you're done with your leafy green. You're going to pull that off. Now you're going to grab the 3 pieces that fit over top of that with your dark colors. So now you're going to grab, let's put this down here. And you can line, as I said, because they're all clear, you can actually see them and you can line them up on here. Okay, so I know that one's going to go there. I love this when you add this dark green to this. It is so beautiful. Okay, that one's going to go there. And you can shut your MISTI door if you think you're going to move anything with your fingers in between putting each one down. That's totally fine. Okay, so here's the third one. So now I know I've got all 3 down. Okay, so now I'm going to use, now you're going to get into your darkest of green. I'm using the mossy. And because I've done these all with the same greens, this will work just fine. And you want to press down hard so that you get all your colors on here. And I'm going to do one more. And then I'm going to hold this up for you guys to see. So I'm going to clean this all off, get all my green off here. And put these back down. So now we've got everything nicely. So again, you're going to need 2 of each of these. So all these leaves and stuff, these 3 that we just did, you're going to need another one of those. So everything that we just did there, do it one more time. So now that you've got these guys already, what you want to do next is grab out your dies. And we're going to cut everything out. So I like to kind of just hold things down just to be sure with purple tape. Again, I'm not quite sure why I decided to do this on one and one on the other side, but okay. So now you're just going to hold this down just so that when it goes through the machine, after you've done all this work, you don't want it to move when you're cutting them, because then you have to redo everything. Okay, so you want to hold that one down. Because I know because I use the Gemini and I have to flip this upside down so that I'm not cutting into my magnet mat. So that's why I like to make sure that I have everything just put down with a purple tape. You can use purple tape, you can use washi tape, anything that sticks to the paper but doesn't, you don't want regular tape because it will rip the paper when you take it off. This does not rip the paper. You'll see that when I take that off here. So purple tape is my go-to. Let's put this, oops, wrong way. Goes down like this. So you just got to make sure you center your dies and they fit beautifully. So you'll have that little bit of a white edge there. I'm going to hold this on the thing here. Now you're just going to grab your pieces that you're going to stick through for your Gemini. I'm trying to figure out where I put mine, but I actually put them away. So whatever, if you're using the Big Shot or any of those ones, whatever you want to use, that's fine. I just have the Gemini. So again, I have 2 of the regular plates. So you put the bottom plate. I put my plastic shim, my magnet, which I'm going to flip all these pieces on top. And then I finish off my sandwich like this. And I'm going to grab my Gemini on here, and I'm sure this is probably going to shake things, but this is why I like my Gemini, because I don't have to hand crank anything. It's all automatic. So now I'm hands-free. Okay. And it's that easy. No more hand cranking. So now, do you see what I mean? Look, when you pull the purple tape off, I'm going to put these off to the side here. I can get these plates out of here. So it sticks enough to hold them into place, but it does not stick to your paper, so it doesn't actually ruin your paper or your stamps or anything. That's why I like, again, washi tape is very similar, but I always have my big roll of purple tape handy, and then it's done. Okay, so that one's off. Get these guys gone. And then the big flower. Aren't these just gorgeous? Like, how pretty with these leaves too, like with the dark. Now, do you see how all the color now, it's all filled in? So if it doesn't look perfect, give it a little bit of time because it just soaks into the paper and it fills in. But how beautiful are all these pieces? So now you're ready to assemble your card, because now you have your one big one, you've got your 2 smaller flowers, you have your 2 large leaves, 2 medium leaves, And then actually, sorry, yeah, you need 3 of these. So I know we did 1, but you actually need 3. So sorry about that, but you have to redo 1 more of those guys. Okay, so what you're going to want to do next is you're going to have your 80-pound Nina Solar White. I cut mine out already, and I always use the large stitched rectangles from Lawn Fawn, because that's exactly 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. But if you don't have these, that doesn't matter. Just cut out a piece of white paper that has that's at the right size. So now what you want to do is, I like to usually just kind of throw things down and get an idea of where I think that I want them before I glue it. So once you start playing around here a little bit, let's put this here. I'm just going to do very similar because at least I've already done one, but I just want to kind of give you an idea of how I usually do this. So then I'll stick this guy about here. Then you kind of get an idea. Oh, I'm like, oh, my leaves are too hidden. I want to make sure my leaves are moved out. This is why I like to do this first. And then these guys can pretty much go in anywhere. So now what you're going to want to do is grab your glue, and you want to glue. I usually hold onto the end just so that I know I'm kind of gluing into the right spot. Right? So you don't glue any of the flowers down, but you're taking the bottom pieces out, because then at least it's going to give you a better idea of where they're going to need to be. So I'm going to put this guy down there. I'm going to stick this here. It's not like you need a massive amount of glue or anything, but enough to hold them down. Move my flowers out. And then I'm going to want this up here. Okay, oh, I got a little bit of glue. Take your finger, take it off. So these guys, what I did with this card, you see how I left the edges a little bit curled up? I just thought this was kind of a cool look. So all I did was I just glued a little bit here, and then I'm going to stick him right along the edge here. I'm just gluing the bottom, so actually the top, because when I pulled it out of my Gemini, it actually had curled up a little bit, and I thought that was super cool. So this guy's going to go somewhere right around here. And then this one's going to go, we can move these guys out of the way now, right around here. So this is what it's going to look like when you pull these other flowers off. So now you're just going to go and you're going to grab your glue and start gluing down your little flowers. If you want to 3D some of these, by all means, you can use your foam dots and 3D stuff up as well too. I chose to leave this more of a flat card. Put that there. And then I did the, we're going to do the Miss You in a minute. All right, so now you're just going to choose wherever you want to stick this one. I'm going to put them right there. Okay, so once you have this part done, you're going to grab your card base. So it's the 110 pound, the Nina cardstock is what we use. Just, it's a very nice, heavy base. So one sheet is 8.5 by 11. So you're just basically, you're going to cut it in half. You're going to fold it in half. And then you're just going to take your bone folder and go over it so it's nice. You have your nice line there. And then what I normally do, again, if you want to use liquid glue, you're totally fine with that as well too. But I like to use score tape because then I know it's never going to go anywhere. And then I grab my tweezers. I find it so much easier to take off the score tape when you've got your good sharp tweezers in here. So now you're going to put this piece down. Okay, make sure you're putting it on the right way. It opens here. And then I just like to hold it up into the top one corner so that you can move this around a little bit. You can see that, okay, now we're straight, and push it down. So now you're almost finished. What you're gonna wanna do is decide on, we're gonna grab your Misty back out, and you're just gonna use just your leftover piece from the white stuff before, right? So from your 80 pound Nina. So we'll just follow, and I'll just do the exact one that I did before, and we'll just do the Miss You. I like to put it down so that at least I know this is square. And if I center this so that I know that when I cut it out, the rest of it's going to be square. So now you choose whatever color you want to do. I went with the darkest of the like bluey, greeny, tealy color. So I went with Emerald Isle. Okay. And that was a pretty good stamp the first time, but just to make sure, I'm going to do it one more time. So now we're just going to clean that guy off there. Pull this off to the side. And now all you're going to do is grab your cutter and let's grab from back here. And I'm going to do this a little bit. Hopefully I'm on screen here okay. I really need to find my little cutter for when I do these videos. Now, because you already know that it's centered on this one, you just got to go over. It depends on how much space you want. You're just going to make a little slice here. Then you're going to turn it, or even turn it the other way if you want to hold on to a little bit more. And you're going to make a slice there. Pull that off to the side. And you can mat this if you want, but do you see how I just did that little bit of the edge of the blue? So I actually took the Tropic Teal, okay? So I took my piece here that I've already stamped, and all I'm doing is just kind of just dragging it along the edge. Right? You're just pushing down a little bit and then dragging along the edge of it. Pull that up there. And now, let's just hold it up against the back of this so you can see it. So that gives you this nice little light edging instead of actually getting another piece of paper and matting it. It still gives you that nice little edge. And I like how, you know, it's not a perfect edge. It has that little bit of a softer look to it. So that's how I did this. And then all you're going to do is grab one of your foam squares, right? You're going to put your foam square behind it here. And then choose to wherever you want to put it on your card. So I just like it just because I wanted to fill up a little bit of that space. That's where I put it up into the top corner over here. So now you've got yourself this beautiful layering card, but you didn't have to do any coloring. It's just all done with inks. That's why I really love this stamps, layering stamps, because there is no coloring with any markers, your Copics or anything like that. Everything is done with just inks. If you want to add, you know, a little bit of glitter here and there, some sparkle pieces, by all means, go ahead. But I just thought this, I wanted to teach you guys just how to use clear embossing, because again, now you can see all the color that was actually down is still there, but now it just has that glossy finish onto it there. So anyways, hope you guys learned something a little bit today, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Talk to you later. Bye.